I think one of the most criminal things that we do in modern times is the fact that we squander our children's minds. Now, when children are born, they're born with these supercomputer minds and with creativity that is unrivaled, in adults, and a kind of creativity that's unparalleled and doesn't have any bounds. But what happens to them is that we send them to school, and during the years at school, we educate that creativity out of them, and we convert them into drones that just sit there the whole day and accept what the teacher is telling them. And what the teacher is actually telling them is lots and lots of boring, unrelated bits of information. Let me tell you what I mean. Now, educational experts from the early 1900s have been telling us that the best way to learn is via what they call constructivism, where children, and if you observe little children before they go to school and how they learn. Now, think about it. Do they sit at home and mom and dad gives them instructions that child, today you're going to do this or that or that? Or is there some other way of learning? We know there's another way of learning because we've experienced it ourselves and we've seen children do it. And how is that? They learn by playing. They learn by building things. They learn from experience. They learn by trying with their five senses, by testing things out. And once they learn that knowledge is assimilated and it goes into their minds. They put that into practice and it forms part of the whole learning framework. That's how we learned languages, right? We didn't learn to speak our mother tongues through books. We didn't learn grammar. We didn't learn all the figures of speech. We learned our language through listening to others speak. So it was all via constructivism. So every time a child learned a new word, that word became part of the global understanding of the language, and the child began to use that word. And that's why they said don't use bad words in front of children, right? Because they were like little audio recorders that were listening to everything, and they'll repeat whatever they say. So that's how children learn. But when they go to school, suddenly, as of grade 1, there's a complete change. There's a shift. What happens there is now you are confined to a chair and a desk, and you have to sit and you have to listen to that person talking. So that signals the end of the constructivist way of learning. Now, if you think about why is it that this way of learning is predominant, it's predominant globally, right? It's because that's the cheapest, easiest, most efficient way to educate the masses. That's the only reason. Despite experts telling us over decades that there's something wrong, there's something intrinsically wrong with this education system, rather than enabling and empowering children to become thinkers, to excel at thinking, to become lovers of learning, to become experts in whatever they choose to do, you are treating them like chickens in a chicken coop where they just sit in one place and they are force-fed with knowledge that they don't even know what it means to them, knowledge that they don't even understand what is the value of this. And in most cases, their concerns are correct, because as adults, we don't even see the value of the knowledge that we were getting at school. It was just some facts and figures that we learned. But there's something worse. There's something more ominous about this knowledge. You see, the one thing about the schooling system is that it was designed to create people who are ready to accept authority. And that was a very powerful way of enabling population control. If you can get people to listen to the man in the front of the classroom on the stage, to the sage on the stage, then when they leave school, that mentality will stick. But on the other hand, if you get people who are critical thinkers, who will be able to explore, research, ask questions, and question authority, well, sir, you said this, but isn't it like that? then what you're going to get is a nation of thinkers. You're going to get a nation of people who are happy to learn, who love learning, and who will question authority when authority is wrong. When authority tries to feed them BS, they will question that authority. And the authoritative figures don't want that. You see, in the Middle Ages, they used to keep people ignorant by keeping books and education away from them. In modern times, it's a lot more ominous than that. And they've perfected the most beautiful way of keeping people ignorant, which is, firstly, by making them hate learning, because that's what school does. It makes kids hate learning. And secondly, by keeping them distracted with everything and anything, television, social media, you name it. There are distractions everywhere. So using these two techniques, using these two schemes, they've kept the population under control. Now, what exactly is required? I don't want to sit here and rant and rant and rant. I want to give a solution to education, to modern education. What do we need? Now, first and foremost, we need to embrace constructivist learning, which is learning through experience and learning through creation. Now, what does this mean? Let me break it down for you. It means four things, right? According to educational expert and computer scientist Mitchell Resnick, there's four aspects to it. First, projects, passion, peers, and play. Project, passion, peers, and play. We need all of these. First and foremost, projects. Now, why are projects so important? Let me tell you. You see, there's a vast difference between learning random facts and random concepts on one hand, and starting off with a problem, which is a project that you need to do, and working towards solving that problem and completing that project. Let me give you an example. If I took you into the kitchen and I started teaching you about different types of ingredients and different types of knives and different types of spoons and different types of spices and which part of the world they come from, you will fall asleep literally in the kitchen. But if I took you in the kitchen and I said, today we are going to cook an Oriental dish. We're going to cook palau from certain country. And together we work towards creating that dish. We put the ingredients together, we put the spices together. Now, which is a more enjoyable, engaging mode of learning? Just learning random facts and theory that is abstracted away from the actual act of cooking, or the actual act of cooking. Now, you can see that act of cooking as a project. We are building a project together. Now, this is why it's so important, because if we as adults learn best in that way, and not just learn best, but we also enjoy learning in that way, so to a far greater extent, kids learn that way. But yet what we do, get them to sit like stooges, like robots in the classroom and just pay attention, learn facts. And those facts that they learn, there's no projects there. And not just that, but there is no framework that they are given to say where this learning actually benefits them in life. There might be some benefits, but that benefits are so abstracted away from them that there's no way for them to know. And I'll give you an example. Let's take multiplication. As a concept, it means very little to a person. Take that multiplication and think about multiplying two numbers together. 5 times 4. Okay, easy, 20. But what does it mean? Okay, let's abstract that. Let's bring that to one lower level of abstraction. Okay, area is equal to length times breadth. That's a formula for calculating area. And if length and breadth are 4 and 5, then the area is 20. Okay, that makes a little more sense, but still abstracted. Now let's take it all the way back to mom and dad want to carpet the room, and they want to know how much of carpet we are going to need. Let's calculate. Now, when you bring it into the real world, when you bring it into the real world, children start to understand the value of it. Right, I need to calculate length and breadth, and then I need to multiply them together, and then I will get the volume of carpet. Now, I know there's word problems that kids do at school, but the problem is that the word problems come after the fact. They are almost just an exercise that's done after the concepts are given to them, after they are attacked constantly with these concepts and are required to learn it. What if we started with projects that didn't just span one subject, but spanned a number of different learning areas like geography, history, mathematics, and we brought those together and we created a project and we said, kids, this is what you're going to need to do, and we teach them project management skills. Now they are creating a project, they are learning about history and geography and mathematics and physics together in one project. That's real life. This is how we do things in real life. This is how we learn in real life. Whether you want to become a software engineer or an accountant or a doctor, you work on problems that you need to solve. Let's give these kids problems. So it starts with projects. The second thing is passion. In the midst of those projects, they might find their passion. Or if not, why not give kids the freedom to pursue things that they are passionate about, even if it's not the whole day, but at least some part of the day. The next one is peers. As human beings, we are social creatures. And at work, we are encouraged to collaborate. We are encouraged to help our colleagues, to assist them in any way that we can. Unfortunately, in the school scenario, look at the irony. In the school scenario, peer assistance is mostly frowned upon. You try and assist a peer during the exams, or you try to assist a peer during a project, it's looked down upon. Yet children thrive on sharing with each other what they've done and trying to impress and outdo each other with what they've achieved. But unfortunately, we don't seem to encourage that. And that's why at schools, particularly in Western countries, you get this different type of competition that comes about. A competition around stuff, a material competition, a competition around what kind of car my dad has, or what kind of shoes I'm wearing, or what kind of fashion brands I'm wearing. See, when we are forced to descend from more meaningful pursuits, then we get into things that are meaningless, pointless, comparing with each other different fashions and clothing. But yet if we take kids and get them to compete on an intellectual level, then we'll see education and society completely transformed. And finally, play. You know, there are more and more experts today that are saying that even in the professional world, learn by playing, learn by trying different things out, learn by having fun while you work, especially in fields where there's a lot of innovation, like in software development, in web design, in marketing. Try different things out and learn in that way. And if you think about kids, they learn best in that way through play. Now, all these put together adds up to constructivism. And that constructivism enables children to learn through experience, to assimilate what they learned, take that learning and put it into its proper place in their minds, like a bookshelf, right? So let's say you have a bookshelf like the one behind me, and that bookshelf is empty, but there's a section for each type of book, and then you've got a pile of books there. You pick up a book, you say, well, this is a history book. Where's the history section? It goes in there. Oh, this is a philosophy book. Okay, it goes there. And you fill up that bookshelf. Now, the mind is like that. It's like a bookshelf that needs to be filled. And when kids are learning, when anybody is learning, what we need is to take that knowledge and see where it fits within that framework. Or think of another example, like a tree of knowledge. Right? The tree of knowledge is, let's say we have a framework and a blueprint in our minds. Now what we're doing when we're learning is that we're filling that up, we're fleshing it out, we're adding the leaves to this tree. And with each new leaf that we get, we know where that goes. Unfortunately, in the modern education system, that doesn't exist. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist. Why? Because think about school. In school, No two subjects are related. Maths is not related to geography, to history, to English, to whatever other language we learn. They are all separate. And within the subjects themselves, for example, in mathematics, we are taught arithmetic, and then we are taught, I'm just thinking of some concepts like equations, fractions, exponents, trigonometry. We are taught all of these. Now, if you pursue mathematics to university and post-grad level, you'll probably see that it's one big picture. But up to school level, as far as the child is concerned, all they are learning is different concepts. And when that knowledge is taken in, it doesn't find a place within that framework. It doesn't find a place within that constructivist framework. They're not using that knowledge as bricks to create this body of knowledge in their heads. These things just float around like fragments there. And when they are like that, then the day after exam, everything is forgotten. And that's how that resentment for knowledge is built up, because it's frustrating to keep learning all these things and then unlearning them because you don't see the value of them. But if you learn something within that framework, there's a constructivist framework where you are building an edifice of knowledge inside your head. You're building a knowledge base that is cross-disciplinary. There's nothing more enjoyable than that. And that's why, in my conclusion, that's why I feel that kids need to learn coding, because coding is not about technology, first of all. Yes, it uses technology, but it's not about technology. It's about giving children the opportunity to go back to constructivist learning. Because in coding, they learn by building projects. So you give kids a project. This is a project for today. You're going to build this video game. And then they go in. They already have the problem statement. And they work and they learn towards building that. And they build that project. And they have fun while doing it. And they have fun after they created it, because they are playing their own video games, or they are sharing with each other video games, and they like, hey, play my video game and let's see what yours feels like. And they enjoy it like this. So there's the whole element of play. So the constructivist learning comes in there. We empower children by giving them the opportunity to learn this. And the thing about coding is that it's the concepts are not abstracted away from them. They can see that, okay, I'm coding these lines, and these lines have that effect on my game. These lines have that another effect on my game. Immediately they see the results. Unlike the subjects we teach them by force. We force feed them. That's cool. That's why I feel kids should learn coding, because they will learn through that so many other valuable things, both tangible and intangible. First and foremost, they'll learn to love learning, exploring, and growing. But they will also learn skills like problem solving, logical thinking, critical thinking, language skills. People get surprised when I say coding teaches language skills. Why? Because coding, let me tell you, coding is a very precise language. You can't give vague instructions to a computer and expect it to understand what you are saying. But it teaches you have to give that very precise instructions. That's what I'm trying to say. And that carries over to human communications. Most of the times we have disasters at work, at home, etc., because people just give vague instructions. Our communication is vague. And so there's all kinds of misinterpretations, and then that leads to all kinds of problems. But with coding, we learn how to be precise in our communications. I'm completely out of time. There's so much more I wanted to say, but let's leave that for another time.